Ever wished your builds could actually do something? Like doors that open, lights that flicker, or machines that move? What about full experiences and minigames? That's all possible with wires. Welcome to the Brick Vista Wire Academy. I'm TonicThunder, and in this series I'm going to demystify wires in Brickadia step by step so you can understand how they work and use them to their full potential. We'll cover every wire brick available now and new ones as they're added, showing you what they do, how to use them, and why you'd want to. Each lesson builds on the last, so whether you're starting from zero or just brushing up on the basics, you'll have concrete guidance throughout the series. By the end of this video, you'll have the knowledge to create simple interactions, and I'll have some missions for you at the end to try and create on your own. So, let's get started with the foundations: tools, signals, and wires. The applicator and the connector are the two most important tools you'll ever use in your life when working with wires. The applicator allows you to assign components, which are like add-ons for a brick, giving it more purpose, such as lights, sounds, and other traits. Let's click the plus and add a point light. Now we're blind. We can click Edit on a point light and modify the settings. We can manually turn it on and off, change the brightness, the color, and so on. Well, we can use wires to change any of these settings. That is what this video is about, right? The next tool is the connector. It is the wiring tool. Its sole purpose is to connect bricks together with wires, hence the name. Some would even say it's just a means of making spaghetti. So now you know how to add stuff to bricks and connect them to things, but how do we make them react? That's where signals come in. Think of wires much like electricity in a real circuit. You need power. In Brickadia, we generate that power, or signals, using interactive bricks. Switches are the easiest. It sends a simple on or off signal when toggled. Let's wire it to a brick with the point light component we used earlier. Using the connector tool, I can click on the switch and then send the wire over to the brick with a light. Don't be alarmed with the window that appears. It's not asking for your bank information. It's just asking us what part of the light component we want to connect our wire to. Now notice, these are the same exact properties that we saw earlier when editing the light with the applicator tool. Since we want to turn the light on and off, we'll hook it up to the enabled property. Now when we toggle the switch, we're enabling and disabling the light. Buttons are next. We can wire this button the same exact way as the switch. You can press and hold them to send a signal, and when released, the signal will stop. Then there's targets. They send a signal when shot with a projectile weapon. Using the applicator, you can change how long the signal stays on after being shot. You can also create signals when a player simply touches a brick. To do this, you can add the touch component and wire the touching property to the light in the same way you'd wire our previous examples. I recommend pausing the video here and just giving some of these a try now if you can. The best way to learn is to do it yourself. If you don't want to use the provided switches, buttons, or target bricks, you can add them as a component to other bricks instead. This lets you make anything interactive, making your dreams a reality. Before we move on, I want to mention bearings and sliders, which are often used with wires. They can send and receive signals in the form of numbers, allowing the ability to smoothly adjust things. We'll talk more about these later in the series, but keep this in mind for now. Instead, let's move on to the wire itself. You might have noticed that some of them are color-coded. This is intentional. The color of a wire indicates what type of information it's sending. Also, when you're connecting things, that window that appears, all of those properties that are on a component, they're also color-coded for the same exact reason. For the very basics, we're just going to stick with the red and green wires for now. We'll cover the other ones as they become relevant. I mean, we could cover them all, but I'm not here to push you off a cliff. Yet. If a wire's red, it's a Boolean. Yes, Boolean. Boolean is just a fancy word for data that's true or false. You could also just say on or off. Numerically, it can also mean 1 or 0. The interactive bricks we covered earlier are just sending true or false signals. When a switch is turned on, it's sending true, or 1. When it's turned off, it's sending false, or 0. Same with the button, the target, and the touch component. They're all sending red wires, indicating a Boolean, a simple true or false signal. Now when I say it's sending a 1 or a 0, I do mean this literally. Here's a digital display that will show us any number that we plug into it. If I hook up any of these interactive bricks directly to the counter, you can see that we get a 1 when the signal is on and a 0 when the signal is off. This will be very important to remember when we get into wiring math in a later lesson. Speaking of math, if a wire's green, it's a number that includes decimals. You can probably guess you'll use this wire type to adjust numbers in a component. And when doing math, we're not there yet. Remember how we can change the brightness of a light using the applicator? I can type in a number to change the brightness to 10, for example. Well, we can use the green number wires to change this for us. I placed a variable brick here. Think of it as a box that stores a number for you. Your own special number box. We'll talk variables in a future lesson. For now, I'm just going to use it to store the number 100. Now, I'll wire it to the light and pick the brightness property. We can control the light's brightness by changing the number in this variable. By the way, the real power of wires isn't just to affect a single component at a time. You can wire a single switch to do multiple things at the same time. And as you're sending wires all over the place, you might want to consider how to organize them. The last thing that we'll quickly cover are rerouters. They're a very small and simple brick used to organize your wires. But I'm not your dad. If you want spaghetti, that's your call. If you don't want spaghetti, then use rerouters to keep things clean. They're also useful for holding wires in place and running them over longer distances in the event you need to delete anything and rewire stuff. They can also be used decoratively if that's your thing. You could pioneer wire art for all I care. I'm not going to stop you, but someone else might. If you found this helpful to get started on your journey using wires in Brickadia, be sure to like this video to let me know. Now here's some missions to start working wires into your brain. Do some exploring to figure these out. Start by creating a working light switch that turns on and off all the lights in a building. And also, add the ability to change the brightness for each one using a single variable brick. Your second mission is to create a target that you can shoot to play a sound effect, and enable the ability to pick up a potion. Your third mission is to make a music player that you can turn on and off when you're holding a button. And your fourth mission, create a trap using a touch plate that'll turn on a red light and play an alarm. If you do get stuck, I'll have a link to a video in the description showing you how I would go about creating these 4 things. In the next video, we're going to cover the basics of logic gates, so you can modify your signals to do way more than just turn things on and off. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it, and I'll see you in the next one.